On that cloudy day in Leawood, Kansas, an ominous feeling lingered in the air. The rain fell softly, casting a gray tint over the manicured streets and perfectly trimmed lawns. Alexandra Kemp, known to everyone as Ally, prepared for her shift at the local public pool, her refuge during the summer break. The pool was nearly deserted, save for a few figures who came and went quickly, perhaps deterred by the gloomy sky. Ally, who had always been a fearless young woman, felt an inexplicable unease that accompanied her as she walked toward her lifeguard station. The feeling of being watched was persistent, a sensation she couldn't shake off but also couldn't ignore. Arriving at the pool, the calm was almost oppressive, the sound of the water echoing eerily around. The complex, usually filled with laughter and lively voices, was strangely quiet. Ally sat in her lifeguard chair, trying to focus on a book while constantly glancing around, as if expecting something or someone to emerge from the shadows. She tried to maintain her composure, but the silence and the feeling of being alone in such a vast and empty space left her unsettled. She looked at the clock, counting down the hours until the end of her shift, eager to leave that feeling behind. At 3 p.m., a car horn sounded outside the complex, breaking the deafening silence that dominated the pool. Ally stood up, hopeful that it was her friend Laurel coming for a quick visit. However, instead of Ally, Laurel saw a stranger emerging from the pump room, waving in an odd manner. The man seemed out of place, and his gaze was disturbingly fixed. Laurel hesitated for a moment, feeling a shiver run down her spine, but didn't dare investigate further. Confused and disconcerted, she decided to leave, unaware that her brief presence had interrupted something sinister. Across town, the phone rang insistently at the Kemp household. It was Ally's younger brother calling in a panic because his sister hadn't been seen since he arrived to start his shift at the pool. Roger Kemp, Ally's father, felt a chill run down his spine upon hearing the news, his mind immediately imagining the worst. Without wasting time, he left the house, driving furiously toward the pool. Upon arrival, the scene he found was bewildering. Ally's belongings were scattered on a nearby table, including her phone and keys, but there was no sign of his daughter. The frantic search for Ally began with Roger scouring every corner of the complex, growing more desperate as time passed. He called out for her repeatedly, his voice echoing back unanswered. When he finally entered the pump room, he was met with the most devastating sight of his life. A blue tarp was thrown into a corner, and a bare female foot was sticking out from beneath it. With his heart racing and dread setting in, Roger approached, feeling a growing sense of panic. As he lifted the tarp, he saw his daughter Ally, covered in bruises and blood, her life brutally extinguished. Roger's scream resonated across the pool, a wail of despair that echoed through the city and the souls of everyone who knew Ally. The discovery shook not only the Kemp family but also the community, which until then felt safe and protected. Authorities were called, and the pool quickly transformed into a crime scene. Investigators and police arrived, examining every detail for clues that might explain what had happened on that dark day. As the police began their investigation, fear and sorrow spread through Leawood, where the tragedy would soon become a story no one would forget. The investigation began with a flurry of activity as detectives worked to piece together the puzzle that would lead to Ally's killer. The crime scene was under intense scrutiny, with the forensic team meticulously inspecting every inch of the pump room. Among the collected items, an open first aid kit caught their attention, particularly because of a pill bottle left on the floor. It was a crucial clue, and detectives knew it could be the key to uncovering the murderer. The investigative team quickly moved to the forensic lab, where DNA tests were conducted in the hope of identifying the culprit. In the town of Leawood, the impact of the tragedy was felt by everyone. A city known for its safety and tranquility now found itself shaken by a heinous crime. Residents were in shock, and news of Ally's death spread quickly, casting a cloud of sadness over the community. The Kemps received a constant flow of support from friends, neighbors, and even strangers, all united in solidarity with the devastated family. However, fear was also growing, as rumors and speculations ran rampant about the killer at large. The once peaceful town was becoming a place of distrust and concern. With the DNA test results in hand, the police took their first concrete step toward justice. The male DNA found on the pill bottle did not belong to anyone in the police database, a disappointment that undermined the initial hope. Without a match, detectives found themselves forced to return to square one, searching for other clues and leads. The case was far from solved, and the pressure to catch the killer mounted with each passing day. Time was the enemy, and the community of Leawood awaited anxiously for any breakthrough in the investigation. Among the first suspects was Phil, Ally's boyfriend, who worked with her at the pool. The brutality of the attack suggested a possible personal motive, and the police focused their attention on him. Phil, however, had a solid alibi corroborated by friends who were with him at the time of the crime. He also provided a DNA sample which did not match the one found at the crime scene. His innocence confirmed, detectives turned their attention to other potential suspects, including strangers who had been seen near the pool in the days leading up to the murder. As the days went by, more witnesses came forward with reports of a strange man seen around the pool area. Descriptions of an individual lurking behind bushes and watching the pool's visitors were disturbingly common. What intrigued the police most was the sighting of a beige Ford truck, regularly parked near the pool but which no one could link to a known visitor. The police compiled the witness descriptions to create a composite sketch of the suspect, hoping someone would recognize him. Flyers were distributed throughout the town, but despite the efforts, the mystery remained. Hope for resolution came when Roger Kemp, in his relentless pursuit of justice, had a brilliant idea. He decided to use billboards to publicize the suspect's sketch, a concept that, until then, hadn't been tried. The idea was quickly adopted by the police, and soon, a billboard was erected on a busy highway, attracting the attention of thousands of drivers. With the composite sketch and the vehicle description, the billboard represented a new hope for the community and the investigation. The results were almost immediate, with new leads pouring into the police, reigniting the hope of capturing Ally's killer. As the investigations continued, detectives began to build a psychological profile of the killer based on the modus operandi revealed by the evidence. The violence and impulsiveness of the attack suggested a predator operating with a mix of opportunity and compulsion. This profile gained further substance as reports of similar attacks in neighboring states began to surface. The name James Stater emerged among the reports, a criminal wanted for assaults and kidnappings who seemed to match the suspect's description. Detectives quickly focused on Stater, discovering he had an extensive and violent criminal history. He had committed a series of crimes in a short span of time, including sexual assaults and kidnappings, yet he had managed to evade capture until now. His connection to crimes in other states made him a viable suspect in Ally's case, and the police were determined to find him. However, there was a stumbling block. Stater had what seemed to be a solid alibi, backed by his boss, who claimed he was working at the time of the murder. Despite the alibi, the police did not rule out Stater as a suspect. He owned a truck similar to the one described by witnesses, and his pattern of previous crimes alarmingly resembled the attack on Ally. Tension in the investigation grew, and the pressure to solve the case intensified. Detectives knew they needed more evidence to directly link Stater to the crime, but for now he remained a primary suspect. The search for proof continued as the police tried to piece together the fragments connecting Stater to Leawood. Then a new lead emerged, shedding light on another possible connection: Benjamin Appleby. With a criminal history of thefts and assaults, Appleby was also known to use different identities to escape the law. The discovery that Appleby was using the name of a deceased friend, Teddy Hoover, heightened suspicions. Investigators began tracing his steps, finding that he had moved to Connecticut under his alias, where he lived with his girlfriend. This revelation put the police on high alert, knowing they were closing in on the man responsible for Ally's murder. The operation to apprehend Appleby was meticulously planned, with Connecticut police working in conjunction with Kansas detectives. At dawn, authorities surrounded the house where he was hiding, preparing for the arrest. The detectives' hearts raced as they approached the door, aware they were about to capture one of the most wanted criminals. The arrest was swift and without resistance, and Appleby was taken into custody, where he would finally be confronted with the crimes he had committed. Anticipation hung in the air as authorities prepared to confront him with the evidence. During the interrogation, Benjamin Appleby initially denied any involvement in Ally's murder. However, when confronted with the evidence, including the composite sketch and witness descriptions, he began to crumble. When shown photos of the victim and the crime scene, his remorse finally caught up with him, and he confessed to the attack, describing the horror he inflicted on Ally. His confession brought relief to the investigative team and the community of Leawood, who now saw an imminent end to the nightmare that had begun on that dark day at the pool. With Benjamin Appleby's location finally confirmed, the Connecticut police, in collaboration with Kansas investigators, organized a careful operation to arrest him. The perimeter was set with precision, and at dawn, authorities surrounded the house where he was residing. The detectives' hearts raced as they approached the door, aware that they were about to capture one of the most wanted criminals. When the door opened, Appleby, realizing his escape had come to an end, tried to flee through the back door but was quickly apprehended by officers waiting outside. Detained and handcuffed, Appleby was taken to the local police station for interrogation. In the cold and dimly lit room, he was confronted with the accumulated evidence against him: the composite sketch, witness descriptions, connections to previous crimes, and finally, the damning DNA that directly linked him to the crime scene. The tension in the room was palpable, and as questions were fired, Appleby maintained a defiant silence. However, upon seeing the photos of the victim, remorse finally overtook him, and he began to speak, revealing the dark truth behind his attack. Appleby confessed that he had spotted Ally at the pool while offering cleaning services and was immediately drawn to her. His behavior turned predatory when he realized she was alone, and he followed her to the pump room. When Ally rejected his advances, her refusal triggered a blind rage that led him to attack her. He detailed every moment of his brutal action, his voice trembling as he described the horror he inflicted. However, upon hearing Laurel's honking, he panicked, abandoned his act, and fled. His confession was recorded, finally closing the mystery that had haunted an entire city. With Benjamin Appleby's confession in hand, the prosecution prepared a solid case to ensure he paid for his crimes. The trial attracted national attention, with all eyes on the small town of Leawood. The courtroom was filled with reporters, onlookers, and especially the community seeking justice for Ally. The prosecutor outlined the sequence of events, painting a detailed and damning portrait of Appleby as a calculated predator who showed no remorse until cornered. The forensic evidence, combined with the defendant's confession, presented an irrefutable case. During the trial, the defense attempted to argue that the attack was an isolated incident, an impulsive outburst of anger that tragically resulted in death. However, Appleby's history, marked by assaults and violent crimes, contradicted this narrative, establishing him as a habitual criminal. Witnesses were called to testify, including Laurel, who saw the suspect on the day of the crime, and Ally's friends and family, who described the pain and loss caused by her murder. Each testimony reinforced the image of a life cut short by a senseless act of violence. Finally, after weeks of emotional testimonies and compelling arguments, the verdict was pronounced guilty. The sentence was clear life imprisonment, with no possibility of parole until 2054. As the judge read the decision, a collective sigh of relief spread through the courtroom. For Ally's family, justice had prevailed, although nothing could fill the void left by their loss. Appleby was escorted out of the courtroom, his future sealed behind bars, while the community began the long process of healing and rebuilding after the tragedy. Ally's tragedy left an indelible mark on her community, but her family refused to let her legacy be one of pain alone. Roger Kemp, motivated by his daughter's memory, started a self-defense program for women, determined to empower others to never face the terror Ally experienced. The classes became immensely popular, with thousands of women signing up to learn skills that could save their lives. The project gained national attention, attracting recognition from political and social leaders. The impact of the self-defense classes transcended Leawood, reaching other cities and states as the movement gained momentum. Roger was invited to the White House, where he was received by then-President Barack Obama. During the ceremony, the president praised Roger's tireless work, highlighting the importance of equipping people to protect themselves in a world where safety cannot always be guaranteed. The honor brought a glimmer of light to the darkness that had enveloped the Kemp family, reaffirming that Ally's memory would continue to inspire and protect others. In addition to the self-defense program, Roger also introduced the innovative idea of using billboards to help capture criminals. The initiative proved effective, leading to several arrests and highlighting the power of a community united for a common cause. Amid the pain of their loss, the Kemp family found strength to turn their tragedy into a force for change, ensuring that Ally was remembered not just for her death, but for the positive impact her memory brought to the world. Even with the guilty verdict, the legal battle was not over for the Kemp family. Benjamin Appleby, determined to escape his sentence, initiated a series of appeals, each a painful reminder of the tragedy he had caused. Each new appeal brought the trauma of the trial back to the surface, forcing the family to relive the most difficult moments of their lives. However, Roger and his wife remained steadfast, determined to ensure justice prevailed and that Appleby never had the chance to cause pain to another family. The legal struggle served as a catalyst for the Kemp family to intensify their advocacy efforts on behalf of victims of violent crimes. They became prominent voices in the fight for legal reforms that would ensure dangerous criminals remained behind bars, using their personal experience as an example of the need for a more rigorous and effective justice system. Their efforts caught the attention of legislators and victims' rights advocates, helping to catalyze important changes in criminal justice policies. Despite the persistent pain, the Kemp family found a greater purpose in their fight, transforming their pain into a powerful force for good. With each hearing and each legal battle, they were determined to keep Ally's memory alive, ensuring her death was not in vain. The Kemps' relentless pursuit of justice served not only as a tribute to the daughter they lost, but also as an inspiration to communities across the country, showing that even in the darkest hours, hope and resilience can prevail. Over time, the community of Leawood began to recover from the devastating impact of the crime. Memorials were erected in honor of Ally, celebrating her vibrant life and altruistic spirit. Local schools introduced educational programs on personal safety and crime prevention. Inspired by Ally's legacy and her family's ongoing work, the tragedy that once shook the town was transformed into a lasting reminder of the collective strength of the community and the importance of remaining vigilant. For the Kemp family, Each day was a step toward healing as they continued to honor Ally's memory through their work. The self-defense program grew and expanded, with the family collaborating with national organizations to provide resources and training to women across the country. Ally's passion for helping others continued to live on through her family's actions, ensuring that her generous spirit touched countless lives even after her death. However, the shadow of Benjamin Appleby remained, a persistent reminder that the fight for justice was never truly over. Roger and his wife knew that despite the victories achieved, there would always be more to do. The determination to prevent others from experiencing what they had gone through fueled their mission, ensuring Ally would never be forgotten. And as the sun rose over Leawood, a new dawn promised a future where her memory would continue to light the way for others, even on the darkest nights. The story of Ally Kemp is a powerful reminder of how fragile life can be and how the unexpected can strike us when we least expect it. However, the tragedy also teaches us the importance of always being vigilant and prepared to protect ourselves and those we love. The pain of loss turned into a movement that empowered thousands of women to defend themselves and not be victims of fear. Now, it's up to you to reflect on what you have learned from this story. Do you feel prepared to face dangerous situations? Do you know how to protect yourself or your loved ones? It is crucial that, as a community, we continue to educate and equip each other with the tools necessary to face the unexpected. What steps can you take today to ensure the safety of your family and community? Ally's story also challenges us to look beyond ourselves and ask, how can we transform tragedy into a force for good? What changes can we make in our lives and communities to ensure that we are not mere spectators but active agents of change? Transformation begins with each of us and is fueled by the courage to face the unknown. If this story has touched you in any way, consider subscribing to our channel to continue exploring cases that not only intrigue but also educate and inspire. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, where we will continue to unravel mysteries and provide valuable insights into how we can all lead safer and more prepared lives. Join us and be part of a community that seeks not only to understand the world around us, but also to improve and protect this world, one step at a time. Welcome to Spooky Stories. I'm Milo, your guide through the chilling and the unknown. Here, we dive into terrifying tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Join our community of thrill seekers, and let's explore the darkness together. Meet Sarah. Like many of us, she used to dread bedtime, hours spent tossing and turning, waking up groggy and irritable, and worst of all, her relentless snoring that not only disturbed her sleep, but her partner's as well. Desperate for a solution, Sarah tried everything. New mattresses, white noise machines, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked until she discovered our breathing for sleep routine. One particularly frustrating night, Sarah stumbled upon an article about the power of breathing to improve sleep. Skeptical but willing to try anything, she read about our breathing for sleep routine, a simple, scientifically backed method designed to clear sinuses, enhance breathing, and eliminate oxygen blockades. It promised to guide users through a simple breathing routine for the best sleep of their lives. Intrigued, she decided to give it a shot. As she began the routine, Sarah immediately felt her sinuses clear. She followed the step-by-step guide, learning how to breathe deeply and correctly. Within minutes, she noticed a significant difference. Her breathing was smoother, more relaxed. That night, she fell asleep faster than she had in years and, incredibly, stayed asleep all night. One of the most astonishing benefits was the end of her snoring. The routine included a simple breathing hack that stopped her snoring in minutes. Sarah learned that her habit of mouth breathing was activating her survival mode, preventing her from achieving truly restful sleep. By switching to nasal breathing, she deactivated this mode and allowed her body to fully relax. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so well rested. Her partner noticed the difference too. No more middle-of-the-night disruptions from her snoring. The transformation was remarkable, and Sarah knew she had found something special. Sarah's story is not unique. Many others have discovered the life-changing benefits of our breathing for sleep routine. Imagine falling asleep quickly, sleeping soundly through the night, and waking up feeling fully rested. No more snoring, no more grogginess, just deep, restorative sleep. Are you ready to transform your sleep like Sarah did? Our breathing for sleep routine is easy to follow and starts working immediately. Clear your sinuses, enhance your breathing, and remove oxygen blockades with our guided routine. Say goodbye to snoring and hello to the best sleep of your life. Check out the link for this wonder in the description and the comments.